So today, firstly, my name is Uthayya. I'm a part of the product team here at SupportLogic, and I look at all things QA, right? So we're here to talk about just that QA, which is quality assurance and quality monitoring. Now, just before I go on, just a quick show of hands to understand where we're at. How many of you actually have existing tools dedicated for QA? It could be auto or manual. Show of hands, please. Okay, and is this primarily manual, auto, both? Manual, all manual. So no one here that already has an existing auto QA setup. Who you do? Okay, wonderful. All right, so with that, we can jump right in. Let me skip this. Yeah. The aim here is to approach this from the point of view of what are the challenges that we see in QA. Because at SupportLogic, that's also the rationale that we use to develop, elevate the quality agent and the coaching agents that we have for QA, right? So the four challenges that mainly plague QA are what you see here, plus a few of the intangibles that come with, right? So let's just go into the first one. Now, the first one is the biggest one, and let's be honest, everyone who's doing QA knows that there's a lack of time, right? There are just too many cases, right? So with the spirit of AI and to lighten the mood, I actually went up to AI and asked it to estimate in a year what are the total number of hours spent by support reps on cases? Any guesses? It's a big number. Okay, none. We'll continue. Surprisingly, it's 2.95 billion hours, right? So that's roughly 3 billion. Now, this is just a big number, means not much. So let's translate this into something even more ridiculous for you all. So this basically means you could have watched a movie like Titanic 900 million times. You could have gone to the moon and back 40 million times, which roughly translates to 9% of the age of the earth. And that is the task at hand for quality auditors and agents, right? So that is what we're trying to deal with here at QA. Now, the answer to that is, or one of the answers to that is auto QA, right? So with manual QA, you're basically trying to audit everything that you have, which is, like we've just understood, impossible. The next thing is that you're trying to make sure you get the good cases. You're trying to understand how is it that I can score as much as I can for quality and to improve my overall QA establishment, right? So one is auto QA. No longer do you have to try and sample or take random picks, right? No spot checks. We take in everything that you want and we score all of it, right? The other thing is that with manual QA, apart from the fact that it takes a lot of time and you can typically only sample 2% of case volume, why it also takes time is because it's fragmented, right? You're using sheets or communication tools like Slack, Excel. All of that comes together to be able to give you a manual QA process. All of that in SupportLogic comes together in one UI, right? Now, apart from that, obviously, we connect with all the major system of records, whether it's email, chat, phone, it could be a foreign language. All of that is synthesized in one and immediately outputs your behaviors and grading in the form of actual tangible items such as escalations, behaviors, emotions, and performance, right? Now, ultimately, what does this actually mean? What is the comparison with manual and auto? You can effectively go from an industry average 2% case volume being audited to 100, right? What that also means is that where you would otherwise need one auditor for 25 agents, you can now right size and actually have one auditor or one QA analyst for actually 100 agents. In the same way is coaching. Typically, it's you all will meet your agents periodically. It could be monthly, it could be bi-monthly, right? Whereas from there, you can move to near real time. By near real time, it's basically a case comes in, we audit it, they get feedback. If you want to come in and give some more, you can do that. But it's immediate and, like you said, near real time. Lastly is the ability to scale. When it is manual, it's basically all you need is more people, right? So that's not the case with auto QA, and hence it's a lot simpler. Finally, we come to a slight more intangibles. Now, all of what we've talked about, time and energy and just ridiculous case volumes, basically means and boils down to it being supremely hard to hold on to your agents, right? Again, case reviews take time because of the number of cases they have, volumes, inevitability. There's a lot of firefighting, which is stress. It's hard to then understand who's doing well, how do I improve. all of this helps, and all of this is solved with auto QA. As since we give you visibility into an agent's progression, you can come in, track who's doing well, who's not, the ability to coach, right? All of that gets solved with auto QA. Now, that's the first problem. Now let's come to the next problem, is what to audit, which is basically by and large the entire logistics admin around making sure your auditors have the right cases and making sure they're going to spend their time on the right cases, which we all know is a big problem. Now, again, I asked AI here, what are the chances that your auditors are actually spending their time on the right cases? Just gonna skip. And AI comes and says it's a minuscule 2.5% chance that your auditors are actually looking at the right case and are not wasting their time on a case that could be everything smooth. It could be just a 2-ticket or 2-comment case, those kinds of things. So at SupportLogic, we have 2 answers to this. First is obviously auto QA, where everything is being scored. So then the questions don't arise about what to audit because it's all audited, right? The next is manual, because we still understand that manual is important. There are a lot of parts of auto QA that still can't be automated, the extremely technical aspects of a case. And in addition, there's also still compliance, and one still has to do manual too, just to ensure that even auto QA is staying in line, right? So for that, we have what I like to call semi-automatic QA, or our assignments, which is basically the ability to manually input whatever it is that you require, plus use an intelligent filtering option and a form that we have that allows you to further improve the inputs that you've given. And along with that, we give you the goodness of AI that we have at SupportLogic, which basically could be your signal detection like LTE, confusion. Along with that, we also have additional AI specific to our QA module, which is customer effort scores and auto QA. So tomorrow you could basically come in and say, hey, you know what? I only want to manually audit anything that has a CES score of 50 and below, plus had an LTE tag, plus had a critical issue, right? Might not be any cases, but you basically, if there is a criteria that you have, whether it's involving some of the AI or not, that can now be used to make sure that your manual audits are being done on the cases that are the most important, right? And with that, we come to the next problem. This one is satisfaction surveys and the over-reliance on these. Now, if there's one term that I think we've all heard, it's CSAT, right? That's basically the one metric that is used time and time again. Now, CSAT is a bit skewed where it's basically customer satisfaction. Now, we at SupportLogic truly believe that it's obsolete in a way and that there are better ways to go about this. So our answers here. So this is effectively, I'd asked AI again, what are the chances that you actually get a credible CSAT score? Now, why is this important? This is important because one is that typically these forms are only sent by the engineers when it's a good case, right? When it's a bad case, they never even send the form because they don't want a DSAT coming in. So that's already half or a large skew gone away. Then once they actually send in the form, Gartner estimates that only 20% of those forms actually come back with responses. So we've already skewed and now we've 1/5 that again, right? And then third is what we at SupportLogic like to call resolution bias, which basically means that there could be a case that came in, it was 100 comments long, it took, let's say, a month to solve, but ultimately it was solved, they were happy, so they've just marked it 5 out of 5. So you think, wow, that was great, but it in no way goes into how painstakingly long that case was and the effort actually that the customer had to expend to get it solved. So that's where CSAT is entirely flawed, and we move to CES and a few others. So like I was saying, the answer there is that instead of relying on one metric as the organization's core, like it could be NPS that you follow, it could be a CSAT, we say, don't do that. Instead, we give you a bunch of options, all ML based. So the first is our auto QA scores, right? The next is CES scores, which is a predictive CES that we calculate internally based on the multitude of data points that we have. And the last is zero tolerance policies, which is basically we have a few ML models in place that look and scan for each case And these are really big red flags. So chances are you won't really see anything. So if there is profanity on the case, a customer is not being responded to, they've shared sensitive information, those kinds of things, right? So all of these combined give you a holistic picture. And so there's no need to just say, okay, you know what, my QA score is 90. I'm great. We're good to go. Let's just move on. No, it could be that your QA score is 90, but your CES is 60, right? And you still see a lot of tickets that are not being replied to. So all of this comes together, and that's where you can actually give your organization time and say that this is what, or this is how one should go about it when you have AI metrics available, right? This is a glimpse into what our predictive CES model looks at. So these are a bunch of factors that we take in. Again, this is all done internally, and you just get an output and see what the score is. Just gonna move on. And finally, the fourth problem, which is, I'd say, slightly new age with the advent of AI and these tools, is how do I know that the AI tool that I'm paying for, I'm buying, has my organization's best interest in mind, and it's going to be accurate and I can trust it blindly? The main things here is that, so what the first offering that we have is a composite QA score. Now, we understand that you might not want to just start auto QA and completely stop manual QA, relinquish all control. So with that, you have hybrid, which is composite. So what this means is that auto QA is not 100, manual is not 100. Both of them come together to form 100% of your QA score. So this allows you to keep the technical, the harder aspects still with your team and your manual auditors. So you can be sure that, that's absolutely right. And whatever you feel is simpler to audit, or whatever auto QA can, or whatever you're comfortable with auto QA auditing, can be done by auto QA. Right? So this is one aspect. The other aspect, just going to go back with the trust and accuracies, again, what I said earlier, is instead of relying on just one metric, one model, SupportLogic comes together to give you plethora of options in terms of sentiment scores, needs attention scores. We have CES scores, right? So it's not about trusting one metric and moving on. It is getting a bunch of input and putting that all together to actually give you an understanding of, okay, is my organization, is my QA team doing well or not, right? And with that, we're actually just going to move to a demo. Sorry, there we are. So what you're seeing here is basically the Elevate landing page. Now, the personas that we're going to go through here are basically QA leads, QA managers, and the reps themselves, right? So as a manager, when I come in, or even as an agent, the first thing I see is the dashboard. The dashboard allows me to understand what's going on, what are the numbers. I can see auto QA, manual QA, CES. I can actually see the reviews as well, right? Now let's say auto QA. Now, with auto QA, again, because it's auto, you don't really have to do anything. It's already scored. So you just come in, choose auto QA here, and immediately once that's done, you will then start to see scores specifically for auto QA, specifically for the team that you have selected here. So in this case, I've selected a global org. If you come in and you have your own orgs and teams that are already there, you can come in and just choose those. Additionally, if you have a requirement where a manager is only allowed to see from a compliance aspect, a subset of your team, we can also have that configured in where when they come in, they default can only see data and numbers coming from those 5 agents or 10 agents, right? So let's continue. So with auto QA, so on the top half, I'm basically seeing numbers, I'm seeing trends. And as I scroll down, I'm actually seeing the QA angle of it, which is your skills and behaviors. Now, I'll come and explain more about skills and behaviors, but in short, skills and behaviors are what our scorecards comprise of. Scorecards are what we use to score, right? So now over here, while I'm seeing this for the whole org, I'm just going to jump in and go into EMEA. So this is the exact viewpoint that I am now seeing for a particular team. And from here as well, if I then want to go into an agent within the team, it's also just one other click, right? So I'm seeing the same information. Now, let's say I want to go into Amanda Stark. So this is the page that if I were her and I were going to log in, this is my landing page, my homepage. So as an agent, this is also what I would be seeing. As a manager, it's 2 clicks and I come into this page, and I can now come and see how well Amanda has been doing, right? So as the same thing on the top, I see numbers, and as I scroll down, it's about the actual QA information, which is skills and behaviors, right? So now we're seeing the ways to understand what auto QA is done. What does it mean for my organization? What if I say, okay, you know what? I'm seeing a lot of red. Why is it so red? What's actually happening in the case? So what is it that, how is it that I can coach? How is it that I can change these behaviors? So that's also a quick click in. We give you the ability to choose which grade you want to deep dive into. And then from there, you're taken to the search page, which outputs a list of every case that had that grade and behavior combination. From there, let's just jump into one of them. Right now, what you see here is the actual case itself. And with AutoQA having already scored this case quickly as the manager, or even if I was Amanda when I'm going to come in, I can see, okay, which are the behaviors that did well, which are the behaviors that were marked down. Right now, if I then want to understand, okay, what was that like? We can go into actual QA grading. Now, the first thing we see here with the actual QA grading is, so if you see the first response says person name, thank you for reaching out to me. Please take a moment so I can connect with my team, etc., etc. There's no, hi, my name is X, you've reached company name and which support team they're in. And rightfully, if you see introduction here has been marked negative. So in the same way, this is what you can expect with AutoQA, that when you come to the dashboard, when you go to search, when you come to a case page, it's already there, right? Now from here, if you feel that, okay, there's something that's wrong, there's something that you need to change, that can be done, right? So first, let's just continue with understanding. So let's just pick another behavior. And for now, I'm just going to go to tone. So one of our voice behaviors, right? So if, let's say this case is 100 comments long, there's no way for me to scroll through each read. We can just say, okay, AutoQA has scored this. So I just want to go and just see everything wherever we've seen tones. I can go next, next, and finally I come to the voice ticket, right? Now, about this. So if you see this is a voice case, I'm just going to quickly play a little bit, right? Oh, it's only playing here. I don't know if you guys can hear.
The add your phone and put it.
Can you? Okay. So one click, you can basically play back the call. And on the call, what you'll also see is that we have a full understanding of all the signals that were detected, along with specific QA models such as dead air that were also on this case. So for example, if I were to see the pink is dead air, if I were to go there and hit play, there's nothing, right? Because here's a point where the call just went silent. So these are the things that we scan for, and these are the things that you can quickly see within a voice file itself. Now, also about this case, I'm just going to scroll all the way up, is that this case was actually a foreign language case. So I'm just going to switch to the original, and if you see, it's all in Japanese. So it does not matter if your cases come in email, voice, chat, Italian, we would score it all. Your engineers could be, your customer could come in with the comment in Japanese. It would be translated and they can respond in English, and we can still send that case and have it translated back for the customer as well. So the ability for your team to also then be able to quickly respond and properly respond to foreign language cases goes up. So coming back to the voice comment now, let's say I've had a look, everything is on point. There's some things that I want to change. Now, the ability for me to make that change is extremely quick. So I have two options. One is I can continue with what AutoQA has done, or I can start from scratch and conduct a whole new manual QA. So for now, I'm just going to pick the AutoQA. So what this allows me to do is make a quick change fast, because AutoQA has done its job. I just want to make a small change. It could be an inaccuracy. It could be just something that I want to leave some color for, right? So come here, let's say change the grade, and I can also always leave feedback. Now, this is one of the core aspects of our tool is feedback. We believe in the feedback loop, and we make sure that at every point we give you the option, or we give you a place where you can leave feedback for your agents. So first is here, when you're conducting an audit, we allow you to leave feedback for each particular behavior and be as granular as you can be. In the case where there were multiple agents in the same case, you could do the same, and it would go to each particular agent as well. So the author of each would get those. And once you're done, Again, in the case where multi-agent is where this shines, is you have multiple agents who play different roles in a case. While you're going to give them individual feedback, it's important to understand that your customers are not responding to A, B, and C. They're responding to the company, to SupportLogic. If I input the agent, they're not responding to me. It could be 5 of the others, but for them, they just open the case with SupportLogic. So it's also important to tie up all the feedback that was sent individually and give case feedback, right? So that's also one place. And once you hit confirm, here is where we send out mails to all the agents, to the managers of those agents as well. Now, as I've been saying, feedback loop, and here is where the agents come in. Now, let's say this is done, auto QA is in, I've made a change, I've left some text. And at this point, the engineer comes in and they disagree. Now, if they disagree, we have an ability for them to actually do that, which is called disputes, right? So I'm just going to switch over to disputes. So disputes are a way for your agents to come in and challenge a score. This is the only way for a score to actually change, because once a manual audit is done, we actually fix that in. You're seeing a blank on top, since that's actually for if I had raised any disputes for a case myself. Whereas the table below is, as an auditor or a manager, every case that gets a dispute, you can come in here and resolve. So let's just go into one of these. So here as well, like we just saw for the auditing, how it will work is that, how it will work is that you're going to come in and see the disputed behaviors. You can see the case as well. And as an auditor, I have the ability to also come in and now change the grade. So if you see, here is the comment, starts off with a link and then just say, here it is, you can solve your case. There is no greetings, there is no introduction. That's what it actually been marked in. And now in this case, I can come in and either agree with them saying, okay, you were right, somehow I missed that, or not. Either which ways, it is mandatory for me to leave feedback here and then move on. So what we're doing here is that throughout the audit, throughout the dispute, you must always leave feedback where something goes wrong. Now, why this is important, especially with the disputes, with something that we've seen is that when your engineers are actually raising disputes, whatever it is that they raised that dispute for, whatever the problem was, they're never making that mistake again. Because if they are reaching out to you saying, hey, I've seen your score, I've seen your audit, I've seen your feedback, but I disagree because of XYZ, that's directly them engaging with you instead of you trying to reach out to them. And I promise you, they're never going to make that mistake again, or they're always going to remember that feedback and the end result of the dispute. Again, coming back to what we talked about earlier was near real-time coaching, and we're moving away from periodic ones, right? So whether it's auto QA comes in, they could raise a dispute on auto QA, right? You can make a quick change. They can come in and dispute that while you've already left feedback for them. Now, at this point, also important to note that all feedback that we leave within Elevate is all captured within the application, within our coaching tab here on the left. You see the shared feedback. At any point when you're within a case, you can always immediately send notes. We also have the ability, we have integration with Loom, so you can also just quickly record your screen and send that video message as embedded text within Elevate. At all points, all of these texts will actually go as emails, so they can get in, they can come in and see, okay, this is what was sent, and they can reply. Now, an important aspect here, just before I move on from disputes, is the fact that one can acknowledge feedback, right? So we went in, we saw how auto QA was a score. I came in and I changed it, right? Now, the instant I change it, it's basically me as an auditor spending my time to score this case. Now, let's say the case had 100 comments and I actually took a full 10 minutes to audit that one case. Now, if I'm going to spend that time, I would like for my engineers to actually go in and read the feedback that I'm going to send them, right? Now, some don't. How can you mandate that? So we allow that as well, where within the scorecard, because all the auditing is done from a scorecard, within the scorecard itself, you can say that any case that gets audited with this, whether it's auto or manual, must compulsorily be acknowledged by X amount of time. As an auditor lead or as the QA team, you define that time and they must come in and audit the case, without which they cannot raise a dispute, right? So that's the page where we want. So if they want to disagree with the score, they think that it's unfair, they must first acknowledge, in which case you get a mail saying that the feedback that you've sent, the score that you've sent has been read and received. From there, they can start with the disputes, right? Now, the next thing is the assignment. So we went in and saw that when you see auto QA, you go to the dashboard, you can understand what the scores are. From there, you can go into the case really quickly, few clicks, and then make a quick change. Now, that works once in a while, right? You can't be doing that for every manual QA. For manual QA, it's going to be important for it to be done in bulk and fast because, again, we need to save time. So for that, we have our assignments. Now, the first and the more important one is the QA assignments, which is basically the standard assignments that you would give, which are your QA workloads. Now, what this is. So first is the admin aspect of it. Now, let's say you have quota to meet, so you have to conduct your audits once a month, every month. You can come in, say, okay, let me recreate this assignment automatically every 4 weeks on a Monday. Let's start next to next, and let's actually go on for the next 5 years, right? Why not? So this eliminates the entire aspect of a manager or an admin coming, sending a case to the auditor, making sure it's done, a list of cases, all of that is handled immediately. Now, once you're done with that, is who's actually involved in this. So first is you choose who you're going to score. Now, the who you're going to score depends on your existing organizational hierarchy that you've built into our application. So the core application has our virtual teams and virtual orgs. So once you have that in, that automatically comes in here, and you can then choose who you want to score by. So for example, I could either pick the whole org, or I could come in and select any one of my teams within. Or I could also come in and say, you know what, this is a one-time assignment. I want to audit a specific agent. I can just come in and say, okay, I see Jacob, and I can just audit Jacob. Or the other thing we have is on the case, we actually have a button on each case that allows you to mark it for future review. In the tickets of interest page, which I'm going to show in a bit, we have a board that has a list of every case that has been previously marked for manual audit by anyone in your team because let's say it was escalated at some point, they saw it, it was still in progress, they waited for it to get closed, and now it's come to you. So you could then also then just say, I want everything that is already coming from that board, and that's it. And lastly, you just choose who your auditors are. Now, this eliminates most of the random selection bit, right? Now, how do we make it specific? How do we make sure that you're not wasting your time and you're auditing the good stuff? So with that is we have filters. Now, filters can be used in two ways. You can either specifically say, this is what I know I want to audit, or you can say, you know what, I don't know what I want to audit, but I know what I don't want to audit. So that is what we have here. So you have two ways, like I said. So let's say you can just change the plus to a minus, and that becomes an exclude condition straight. So for example, I could come in here and say, give me everything that had a lack of progress and something that had, let's say, LTE, likely to escalate, right? And along with that, I can say, I also would like something that has a minimum or a score of, let's say, 60. So I want a case that has a 60 CES score, which is quite low. We want to also pull in a case that has a lack of progress signal that comes from the core application plus an LTE. Now, apart from this, we also have this term that you see here called source tags. Now, this source tags is effectively an umbrella term for all your metadata. This could be case object or any related object that we have access to. So, for example, you have a severity type, you have a product type, you have contract values, you have product team values. So if you only want to audit a specific team, you could do that. You only want a case that meets, let's say, a severity or a priority, you could do that, right? Yeah. So the whole aim here is to make it such that one form makes it sure that you are not going to waste your time. Your auditors are not wasting your time, and you're only auditing what you need. Right now, with that, we come to the final aspect of our assignments is calibrations. Calibrations is effectively an internal assignment, which what we do is you then, the form is almost identical. What this basically is that all of your auditors get the same case to audit. Now, why this is important is because your auditors give feedback, right? The auditors give a score. If your auditors are giving conflicting scores and conflicting feedback, your engineers are never going to improve. They're going to see the same issues again and again because they're getting conflicting feedback. So we actually tell customers to be doing this once a month at the least, where it sends the same case or the same cases to all the agents. And once done, manager can come in quickly, click through, see for the same aspect, which auditors gave it a markdown, which didn't, and you can see where there is a change. Because if there is a change, that needs to be ironed out first before you actually continue to do more audits. And with that, we cap the manual QA aspect as well, right? Now, the next thing is scorecards. Now, we've gone into what auto QA is, what manual QA is. All of it works by means of scorecards. You can have as many as you want. In Elevate, we have no restrictions. Just going to give you a glimpse of what auto QA is. So auto QA, these are all the models we have, and these are all built in the way that it covers an entire life cycle of the case. So from when a case is open to when a case is closed to all that you would want to see in between is what auto QA scans for. And finally, I'm just going to go over to the tickets of interest page. Here is effectively where you would see a board for any criteria or any list of cases that is important to you. So I've talked about the ZTPs, or I've talked about low QA scores, and we also have low CES, which I'm just also going to show a bit more. Apart from this, if there's any other requirement, let's say customer in the US plus contract type 1, you can make sure any case that comes in that meets all of that will be shown here. And finally is coming back to the dashboard is again the ability to come in and see the same numbers. Sorry, I don't know why it didn't load. Yeah, there you go. And so you get to see everything that's happening here. One thing that I didn't talk about too much earlier was the CES score, but that is also something that you have here. So in a whole, basically, what is auto QA? The ability to understand what auto QA has done, how you can go in deep dive, make a quick change, make a larger change, right? See if an engineer comes in, raises a dispute. If not, you can also then go in to an assignment and create bulk audits for your auditors. So all of this in one tool, wherever there's a requirement, we will send out mails and your team members can come in and access the tool. This tool was built for engineers as well. It's not meant for just QAs. They have workflows as well, apart from just disputes. And with that, I'm just actually going to move back to the slides. We're done with the demo. Team? Hi, can we just switch back, please? Thank you. Perfect. So yeah, as I was saying, at Elevate, one place that you can come in, auto QA, you can see how to make a change, how to understand what's going on. You can also come in and conduct your manual flows, which are assignments or disputes, emails, feedbacks, all of it. What I didn't talk about was that we also have the ability for you to download this data as reports, which can also then be shared. We have a detailed dump for everything, which is an auto QA report or a manual report or dispute reports, all of it, right? So in short, this is basically what you get and what it Elevate and our quality agents at SupportLogic. Not going to go into much with this. If you all have any questions about this, we can take this outside. And thank you. With that, if there are any questions, I'm going to open up to the floor. Yes, please. Can somebody hand him a mic? Oh, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Sense in terms of, hey, can I really trust this automated thing to evaluate me the same way that another QA person, a
Correct,
human
yeah.
would do? What is there to build that level of trust?
So the short answer is trust is built, right? It's not an item that day one you come in and you're like, okay, fine, it's there. Plus with the agents, it's something that you put on them and then they have to understand. Ultimately, once you can see that it is accurate, it is happening, there is an improvement, that trust will automatically come in. Again, it's not there on day one. It has to be built. And also we have seen that there is more friction because now instead of seeing a case audit score 10 times in a month, now they're seeing it 1,000 times a month. So that's also going to give them eyeballs to a lot of more reds, a lot of more bad scores. So yes, we do see sometimes that there are problems, But again, as long as that can be backed up by your own auditors when they come in, they do their tests and they agree, then your engineers have no say in the matter, right? They just have to adhere and understand this is the new process and it's only here to help.
So just like you said, there's a calibration exercise that's done across
Yep.
multiple manual auditors. Is there like an A/B testing where you have the same case being analyzed as part of manual QA and the same case passes through a automated QA and then the
Yep.
results can be compared?
So that can be done at any point. It's not something that we specifically do, but any case that is auto QA'd can also be manually QA'd at any point. Like I was showing you, excuse me, you can make a small change or start a scratch. The key thing is once a case has been manually QA'd, it can't be done so again, unless, I mean, we do have an exception. If the case is in closed, it reopens and then recloses, then you can. But any case that is auto QA'd can definitely be manual QA'd. So yes, that is a way for you to compare. All right, anybody else? Yes.
So I have a few questions. The first one, you shared the criteria that can be set for the cases to be audited.
Yep.
And I saw some conditions. Were they or criteria and criteria, or we can have both?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
The criteria that you showed, for example, hey, select
Understood.
the cases which are P1s, maybe few other factors.
All of it is up to you. So anything that we have access to, you can do. So if it's case object, if it's anything else, all you have to make sure is that we as in SupportLogic has access to it, and you can use that to filter and make sure that you get the right cases.
Yeah. So I want, hey, either a P1 case,
Yep.
or maybe a case where sentiment was negative.
Yeah, that can be
So
done.
that or condition can be done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So please go ahead. You had another question?
Yeah. So the second question that I was having is when this audit is done, be it auto or manual, where is this getting saved? Is it getting saved on the CRM? This data audit result?
So as of now, no. As of now, all of this is in Elevate, is in SupportLogic only. Right
Okay.
backs for us to be able to push these scores is a roadmap item and will come extremely soon. But
Okay.
for now, no. Long answer, it'll come soon.
Okay. And these results, audit results, I know you showed the dashboard on the reporting side. Can this be, from the reporting perspective, can it be pulled into, let's say, reporting tools, for example, Tableau?
Absolutely. Can you just move back to my screen, please? So I didn't bring up this page at all. So we have a reports page and these are what I like to call a structured dump, which basically gives you everything that has happened in a case, every behavior, all of it. And it is formatted in a way that when you download this report, it is designed to be fed into a BI tools or a Tableau so you can output your results. So it's not a direct, but you'll have to just come here, choose your report, put it in, and then feed that in. So yes, that can be done.
Okay, and this can be automated.
Yes.
Thank you.
Coming back to the first one that you had about the assignments, just wanted to go in there as well. So filters. So now most of what you have is going to be in the umbrella term called source tags, right? And any two conditions within this would work with an and. If you want to make sure that one of them is super important for you with QA, let's say severity, right? Or a priority. So you want to use that. We can absolutely pull that out of this and create it as another filter called priority. And then you can use that as well.
Okay. Thank you.